Hello again, everyone. This video is part of my series about the game of Go. Before watching this video, you should already be familiar with the concept of eyes and how it affects life and death in the game of Go. If you're not, you can watch my video on the subject. We will see what are false eyes, how do they affect the lives of our stones, and how do we recognize them in order to create or avoid them in our games. Let's begin. Is this black group alive? It may seem that it is because if black plays here, he has two eyes at the points marked 1 and 2. However, there is one small problem. The stone to the left of 1, the marked stone, is not connected to the rest of the stones on the other side of the eye at 1. It can never really connect to them because of the white stone here. If black would play at the point marked with a square, then the black stone would be connected. That means that whenever white wants, white can finish surrounding this stone and place it in Atari. If this stone can be captured, and it can, right now white can capture it, then obviously R19 cannot be considered an eye. But if black defends it, all he does is fill in what he thought was his eye. So obviously it can be an eye now. Black still has only one eye. Therefore, black, despite any initial appearances, doesn't have two eyes. He only has one. A point such as black 1 here, that may look like an eye, but really isn't because it can't connect to the rest of the group without filling the so-called eye, is called a false eye. Here, black has only one real eye and one false eye. He needs two real eyes to live. So this black group is dead. This means that here, this black move is meaningless. Even after black plays it, he still has only one eye, and he's dead. You should just let this group be. It's already dead. What about white? After black plays here, since white can surround the group in Atari with P19, plays the Q19 stone, this stone, in Atari whenever he wants. He doesn't really have to do it now. He probably never will have to do it. Black is already dead, so any extra white moves here will be wasted. That means that even if we go back to this point, not only is the black move here a mistake, but since if black recognizes it and doesn't play here, since white knows that even if black plays here, he still has only one eye, white doesn't need to play either, because he knows that black is dead anyway. He can't kill black twice, so any other move in this area will be wasted. This is how powerful the concept of two eyes can be. It can help us gain many moves elsewhere on the board because we can recognize faster the group is alive or dead. Later we will learn how to create false eyes to really kill the opponent's group which may look alive, or how to prevent him from making our eyes false. Before we move on, an important distinction has to be made here. Here, white can surround the stone, and many beginners find this confusing. They confuse false eye on the edge like that with a ko, and I can understand that. After all, the shape that is created is the same as in a ko, because after white captures, There's a Ko shape here, and black may get to recapture later. However, the trap with that, and the reason that this isn't a Ko fight at all, is that, well, ask yourself, how can black win? Suppose black manages to capture this stone back later. R19 is still a false eye. It's still an Atari. Black can never fill it without having only one eye himself. What can black do to change that? Nothing. No move played in this area will help him turn R19 into a real eye, or to live with that group. Therefore, there isn't really a Ko here, because black can never live with this group. It doesn't have any moves here that win the fight. That is a very important difference. False eyes aren't Kos, really. Can false eyes be created only at the edge of the board? What do you think? Let's look at an example. The white group is surrounded in the center of the board. White obviously tried to surround two eyes at the marked points, 1 and 2. Was he successful? Is this white group alive? What do you think? The problem here is with the eye at the point marked 2. The marked stones on this side of the eye are not connected to the stones on the other side of the eye. If they could connect on either of these marked points, square marked points, then things would have been rosy for white. However, as things stand, white cannot connect these stones to the rest. That means that black can, whenever he wants, finish surrounding the stones. They're in Atari, and either capture them, in which case, of course, white doesn't have an eye there, or white fills, and again, he just destroyed his own eye. Therefore, this white group is actually dead. And the point marked as 2 is a false eye in the center. And since black can surround and capture the stones whenever he wants, or let white fill them whenever he wants, this group is already dead. Black doesn't have to spend a move to do that. It may look like real eyes. False eyes may be initially difficult to recognize, but we will go over several methods of doing that in an actual game. Of course, in an actual game, what would realize is in Atari can be placed in Atari whenever black wants, and this group is dead. And if black Ataris, he will not connect. He will just play elsewhere and let this group be. Is there any way to recognize false eyes easily? Sure. More than one way. The first one is by simply checking if stones surrounding a potential eye are connected, or can be connected to the rest of the group without filling the eye. That is the most basic and important way of recognizing false eyes. And all other methods just help pointing out that a point might be a false eye. We will go over that in a minute. This stone, Q19, the marked stone, is not connected to the rest, as we've seen before. And the only way to connect to the rest of the stones is to play at R19 and fill your own eye. So this point can never really be an eye. Also, there's a way to visually recognize false eyes quickly. It works a bit differently on the edge of the board and in the middle of the board. On the edge of the board, if the opponent holds at least one of the points diagonally from our first line potential eye, it's on, I call it the first line potential eye because it's on the first line. And white holds this point diagonal from this one, black holds the other one. If the opponent holds one of them, at least, the potential eye is false. This can't really be made into an eye because of this. If he holds none of the diagonals, such as in here, then R19 here, this point is a real eye. In the middle of the board, things are a bit different. And we'll show that. If the opponent holds two or more of the points diagonally from our potential eye, it's probably a false eye. If he holds less than two, it's a real eye, for sure. So if white had managed to get this point, for example, and even if black surrounds that group completely, white group is alive with two real eyes. Note that two diagonals don't have to be diagonally opposite points. That is, black doesn't need these two. He could have these 2 points, two diagonals of the potential eye. And in this example, it's clear that the stone marked here, N15 stone, is in Atari. And let's remove the other mark in order to not confuse you. This stone is in Atari. But even if black didn't have a stone here, he could place this stone in Atari whenever he wants. So this is just a false eye. In the end, what matters is whether the stones on both sides of the eye can connect while maintaining the eye. The rest are just helpful guidelines. You just need to pay attention to these details in real games. With experience, you'll start noticing false eyes a lot more easily. But still, knowing what to look for definitely helps. Keep in mind, you probably want to notice these things before they actually happen. Or it might be too late sometimes. For instance, let's see an example. Here, in this position, being black here and allowing white to play here, here, and then realizing, hey, I know this. The stone at Q19 is not connected to the rest of the stones, and I have a false eye. Hey, I'm dead. Yay, I recognize the false eye. That may not help. Of course, it would help you recognize these things in the next game, and it's natural to make such mistakes. But it's important to realize that you want to recognize the false eyes before they're actually made. And if black saw this in time, perhaps he would realize that he needs to try really hard to get this point himself, to prevent white from disconnecting Q19 from the stones on the other side of the eye. And one last point. A group only needs to be able to make two real eyes to live, even if it has a false eye or 2 or 20 in addition to that. Here, black has a false eye at the point marked at 1, but in the corner, he has a 4 in a row eye shape, which we already know is alive, because black has either A, which makes 2 eyes, this eye and this eye, and B, which makes 2 eyes. And white can take both of them, so black can play any of them whenever he wants. Black is alive in the corner, so even if he has a false eye at 1, since he has 2 eyes guaranteed, in the corner, this group is alive, even though it has a false eye. So creating a false eye for the opponent isn't always a guarantee of killing the group. This is the end of this video. I will be covering actual techniques for creating false eyes in order to kill the opponent's groups in future videos. Hope you enjoyed this one. See you next time!